Alrighty, so screen share has been enabled. Jason Marsh, you are good to go, my friend.
Yeah, cool. So I've got a digital marketing agency, kind of what you were talking about before with Disney, Carl, in terms of delivering a really awesome customer experience. This is what this agency does. Let's see. So here we go. So this agency specializes in SEO, search engine optimization. This is what they've done historically. This is what they're really good at. Right now, it's about 60% of their revenue. In the last couple of years, they've been adding a couple other services, PPC ad management and website development, which just kind of goes hand in hand with all of that stuff in any case. But their bread and butter is small to medium-sized businesses, predominantly in the home services sector, but they have a mix of other service businesses, med spas, doctors, lawyers, things like that. They have 130 monthly retainer clients, all of which pay in advance of their month of service. And they're located in the top 20 US market. And if you go to Google and type in SEO and the name of the city they're located in, they're at the top of the page. They're #1 in the local pack, and they're, I think, #4 in the regular organic search. So they do well with their own SEO as well. So in terms of what I mentioned a moment ago, they're really known for being an agency that turns around really bad campaigns. So one thing that happens in the digital marketing space is there's a lot of businesses that have had dismal experiences with other agencies that overpromise and underdeliver. So they have a reputation for delivering results where other agencies have made promises and failed. So they have a really strong reputation. And that's led to really high customer satisfaction. So I've got a couple quotes. Wish I would have found you years ago. This room truly cares. And as a result, they do have really high customer retention. They've had customers that are been around for 10 plus years. Founded in 2010, they have a very tenured and experienced team. I think their team's about 11 people. 3 or 4 of them have been around since almost the beginning. So there's real low turnover in the team. I knew somebody was going to ask about this, so I put this in the slide. They're very focused on AI. In one of my meetings with the seller, he explained to me that they have an outside consultant that comes in regularly and does some coaching and training with the team in terms of what's happening in the space, how they can implement it in their delivery, and their overall service levels. One of the things I like best about this firm is they have a strong 1B. I didn't want to put #2 because this person actually runs most of the business right now, is the director of operations. I think is perfectly positioned to elevate to the GM. And when we implement EOS, will be an ideal person to be the integrator. So as I mentioned, the team's 11, they're remote. They weren't, historically, they've always been in an office. COVID happened, they went remote, ultimately decided to stay that way. And now actually a lot of the team is scattered all over the country. So I don't know, we're going to be able to put that tube back in, that toothpaste back in the tube. Just real quick on the market, digital marketing, huge fragmented market, lots of growth, everything from, one person shops to big giant holding companies, all kinds of different services. But the point I'm trying to make here is there's strong growth in the sector, and companies of all sizes are devoting, more and more of their marketing budgets to digital channels. So any agency in this space is poised to go along for that growth. So the seller built really good rapport with the seller. I've met with him a couple of times now, once in person. Just a broker deal. The broker told me he's got a lot of interest in the agency, including PE interest. He said I'm the only one he actually wanted to meet with in person. So he's about 53 by my guess. The reason he wants to sell is someone in his life, stage 4 cancer, sadly something we connected on. I'm sure a lot of people can, unfortunately, but he's being a caregiver. He's thinking about quality of life and time and how he wants to spend it and so forth. So he's not super motivated. The MUD score is low. He's not in distress and super motivated, like I've got to sell it now. But he is interested in selling it. But we have a really high level score. I built really strong rapport with him, as I mentioned. Have a good relationship. He does have PE interest in this firm, but he's very weary of it. And one thing I'll say is he talks about this agency and the people in it like a proud father. And he is very concerned about what's going to happen to those people when he sells the business, and he looks at his meetings with sellers as his own due diligence on behalf of his team, because he doesn't want to leave them in a bad situation. And so that's a big part of where we connected. I'm an agency owner myself. I've been in the space a long time. So kind of what Carl always says, stay in your lane. That was certainly one thing that really helped me. So just some of the risks, some of the concerns, founder departing, there's a lot of institutional knowledge that's there. Obviously he grew this agency through, his ability to do sales. So that's all a concern. The way I want to mitigate that, I'm going to try to keep him involved, and I believe he'd be interested in doing that, somewhere in the range of 10 to 30% equity or a profit share. I believe with the new so this is likely to be an SBA deal. I believe one of the lenders I spoke to told me that in an SBA deal, if the owner is going to retain equity, they have to sign a personal guarantee no matter the amount of equity. So that's potentially a challenge. I imagine you wouldn't want to do that. So I'm thinking maybe some sort of phantom profit share or something like that, but some way to keep him involved in the business. I'm also going to make an annuity offer, but to keep him around. And I think he wants that. He does want to, and I'd love to have him do it. So the other part, remote team.
Hey, Jason, just want to chime in on that real quick, right? The only time the seller has to sign a PG on retained equity is if the buyer or the buying group's not putting in the 10%.
Okay. All right. I got a different note from one of the lenders this morning because I did clarify that. Yeah, we're looking to do at least 10%, more likely 15% equity injection. So anyway, we'll work through it one way or the other.
And seller can only retain up to 20% of the ownership under the new SBA. So 30% wouldn't work. Sorry to interrupt you. Just wanted to clarify that real quick. Carry on. This is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no worries. Those are important details, and I'm sorting them out right now as well. So that is helpful. In terms of the remote team, I think it's fine. It works fine now. My concern is how it works when it goes from 11 to 15 to 20 to 25 employees. I talked to Jim Helms a little bit about this. He said, it's a two-sided coin, right? On the one side, now you can recruit from everywhere instead of specific geographical location. Sometimes top talent wants to be able to work remotely. So you have an advantage there, but you have to mitigate it, establish KPIs, monitor performance, and so on. So in terms of the growth plan, there is so much opportunity for growth in this business. Think about these businesses, these agencies that are in kind of the low 1 million to mid $1 million ranges. They've gotten there despite being badly managed businesses. And that's about as far as you can go in revenue before you start to implement a lot of professional management stuff. So number one, they have 130 monthly clients. So we can do some real basic price increases, just inflation, that sort of thing. That can put an extra $100,000 to the bottom line in year one. But then beyond that, because they're only doing SEO and limited other stuff, they get asked all the time to do more, but they're hesitant to do it because they don't have that specialization. So I think that's something that can be added. SMS, email marketing, it's all lead gen work. So CRM, paid social. And ultimately what happens is if you can do that, not only do you generate the additional revenue, but you're becoming more sticky. You're becoming more integral to your client's operation. So that'd be step number one. Also implementing EOS, that has to happen. That needs to happen in order to go from 1.3 to 2.3 and beyond. Also, they have a salesperson, but they could definitely use more formalized marketing and sales process, develop a more consistent pipeline. I'd want to invest in business and leadership coaching for the key people that'll be running the day-to-day of the business. And then I think additional tight sector niche focus is an opportunity. As I mentioned, they do specialize in home services. There's a few others. And I think I asked the seller a question. I said, what are the types of businesses that when you get those accounts, you can hit it out of the park? And he had a couple answers for me in that. Home services are one of them. And it's just focus in that area and look at the P&Ls, find out which clients are most profitable, get more of those, that type of approach. So in terms of the team, and this is really more at the equity and the board level, right? So there's me, obviously this is squarely in my buy box or my lane. I've been an agency owner for 15 plus years. I know this business and this business model very well. But I'm going to be looking for partners. I have some people in mind and I'm starting to have these conversations, but I want to put it out on this call as well. I want to have a fractional CFO. The person I do have in mind has extremely deep industry knowledge and experience. I've had some preliminary conversations, but he works specifically with digital agencies only that are doing 7 and 8 figures. And the thing about that is he gets to see under the hood of all of these agencies exactly what they're doing that makes them successful. And so that can be a really huge benefit. But beyond that, looking for somebody, because I don't have these skills, that really good in operations to ensure operational excellence, oversee or implement EOS. A salesperson, want to obviously grow the sales team and have somebody that has that experience to help oversee that and drive that ongoing excellence. All right, financials. So we'll get into the the full one sheet, but just wanted to summarize here. You can see top line 860, 1.1, 1.3 in the last 3 years. The average of the last 3 years, EBITDA is 338, or I'm sorry, 338. This current year is 469. So yeah, so that's basically where those numbers are. I've had a conversation. I spoke to David Marcantonio. I've spoke to a couple other people. David actually said he thinks he could fund this deal 100% simply because I already have a business in this space. And that's based on the new rules that have come out.
Reading my notes. You can see my notes.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. I have no interest in funding this at 100%. I don't want the business to be that leveraged. I want to make sure we can lighten up the debt service so there's plenty of extra cash to invest and to drive those growth factors that I described. So in addition to looking for those partners, looking for some equity. So basically the offer is $234K. That represents 15% total consideration, 50% bump on the equity to get you 20%. I have it at 19.9. So if we do an SBA, you don't have to sign a personal guarantee. Timeline for exit 5 to 10 years. So if you are more of the buy, grow, and hold type. So if you're looking for, getting your money back in a couple of years, that wouldn't be, this wouldn't be the investment. Projected annual growth rate, just sticking with kind of the industry average. And at that investment, the cash on cash annual return would be 40% in years 1 through 5, 90% cash annually, 6 through 10. I'll show you the pro forma on this real quick in a minute. The pro forma here, I'm not going to get too crazy into it. If anyone's interested, reach out to me. We can go through it. I actually ran the numbers at a little bit higher, but in terms of a little bit higher offer price, but just notice here in terms of, running top line, bottom line, annual growth rate at 15% for the first 5 and a little bit lower on the second 5. Here's the thing. I'm just trying to be conservative in the numbers here. I know some other people I've spoke to like to be, more optimistic, but I think these numbers look pretty good as is. So again, year 1, looking to reinvest 150K into the things I talked about before of the free cash flow. So for the investor, be a 14% cash on cash return in year 1, but you can see these numbers. That's the annual cash return year by year. Down here, just calculating the, the enterprise value, minus the debt and the debt pay down to get your equity value. And then what that looks like each year from an exit standpoint. So that's year 5 and year 10, which I highlighted before. So anyway, that's the deal. If anyone's interested in that stuff, we can talk more about it.
Yeah, Jason, amazing job. Great presentation. Absolutely fantastic deal.